Today we're talking about fitting in. This episode is basically inspired by Mindy Kaling, like most things in my life. In her book she has a whole chapter on like finding out who her true friends are, and that she had kind of friends she hung out with to be cool, and then she had these friends that like really had the same interests as her. So I thought I would do an episode all about fitting in and growing up, because I know when I was younger I always really struggled with fitting in, and I'd always feel really left out, and I would cry a lot because I felt left out all the time. And when like there was like 3 of my friends and 2 of them went to go do something, I'm like, why do they not want me there? So I thought it'd be a good episode to do, because I know I could have used this episode when I was younger. I think the main thing is just to find your people. So there's always going to be people that are interested in the same kind of things that you are. So if you're really into chess, there's going to be people that are also really into chess. If you're really into YouTube, then there's always going to be people that are really into YouTube. Sometimes it's hard because when you're growing up and you're in a school and you're in this little fishbowl and you're like, who else has the same interests as I do? Whereas when you go and you graduate and you know you're in the workforce and all that stuff, you have like access to all kinds of different people. But I feel like nowadays, like, you can make friends on YouTube, you can make friends on Facebook and all that kind of stuff, but please do be careful with online predators. Now I'm like my mother. I don't know about you, but I feel like we all are sort of struggling to fit into this like cookie cutter mold of like perfect hair, perfect skin, so composed, so elegant, all this stuff. Well, at least that's how I feel anyways. And I always have crazy hair, and I'm always like staying up late to watch shows, and then I walk out of my room and I'm always dancing and being too silly and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say just embrace that and find people who, one, enjoy that about you and are the same way, that don't take themselves too seriously. For me anyway, that's that's my people, and who kind of enjoy that kind of thing. And then you'll be like, yeah, it's awesome being me, and it's awesome fitting in with people that have same interests and they are just as much of a weirdo as you are. I wish that back then I didn't really worry so much about fitting in, and it would just like come naturally. Like now I don't even think about like, oh, am I fitting into this group or not? I'm just kind of like, wow, what's up guys? And, and it just kind of happens, and if I don't feel the vibe, then I'm moving on to the next group of people kind of thing. So I wish I kind of just let it be more naturally, but it's so hard to do that in school. And I know like you're in this little tiny group and you want to fit in with all these different people, especially the cool kids. But the cool kids they weren't doing stuff that I wanted to do. They're like badass, dubious stuff like, hey Kate, you want to go over there and smoke and look real cool? And I'm like, yeah, I do want to look real cool. But then I would remember what my mom said.
Kate, you'll get lung cancer. Don't smoke or you'll die.
So I wouldn't smoke. And then they'd be like, hey Kate, you want to go tan and look really cool and tan? And I'm like, I do want to look cool and tan. But then I would remember what my mom said.
Tanning? You're gonna get skin cancer. Big time.
My mom really likes to strike fear into me, if you haven't gotten this already. But I love you, Mom. Thank you for keeping me healthy and safe. So I had this like constant battle of like wanting to fit in, but then also like wanting to please my mother. And so I think I found my people, and it was okay. And I learned to like, I'm always putting sunscreen on now, as you've seen. And so I think when you kind of come to terms with like, no, I'm just gonna embrace who I am and my quirks and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and the lessons that my mom taught me, because they're always right. They are always right. Then you sort of worry less about fitting in. But I used to get really upset about it. I used to cry and cry and cry. And I changed schools once, actually. In grade 10, I started a new school, and it was rough. Like for 2 months straight, I was crying every night, being like, why did you take me here? I would make my dad pick me up every lunch hour, and if he couldn't make it, I would eat my lunch alone in the bathroom. Super unsanitary. Probably have tons of diseases from that point in my life. Gross. And that's how much I cared about fitting in, you know? It was just like, I would rather eat my lunch alone in the washroom than be that kid alone with no friends at the table. And so I chose that option. If you ask me now, 100% I would way rather eat at the table alone. It might be kind of nice. I'd read up on a book. I'd enjoy it a lot. But back then, I was taking the germs 100%. So when all is said and done, find the weirdos that are weirdos like you, because they are gonna love you and they'll want to do things that you want to do. For me, that's dancing weird and making movies. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode of So Awkward. If you want to check out my other episode all about boobs and bras and that very awkward time in my life, click the link below, and also click that other link to subscribe to Style Collective.